Bună ziua tuturor celor prezenți la audierea publică
Good
de
morning
astăzi
to everyone at today's public hearing
a Comisiei de Evaluare
of
înființată pe
the
baza
Vetting
legii
Commission
65
established under Law
2023
65 from 2023 on the external evaluation of judges
la funcția
and
de
candidates
judecător
for
al
judges
Curții Supreme
of the
de
Supreme
Justiție.
Court of Justice.
Eu mă numesc Andrei Bivol, sunt
I am Andrei
președinte
Bivol,
al completului
the
A
chair
al
of the
Comisiei
Panel
de
A
Evaluare.
of the Commission,
Declar această ședință
and I
deschisă.
declare this session open.
Această audiere se desfășoară
This
în cadrul
hearing is
procesului de
being
evaluare
conducted
potrivit
under
legii numărul
Law
252
number
privind
252
evaluarea externă
on
a
the external
judecătorilor
evaluation
și
of judges
procurorilor
and
și
prosecutors
de modificarea unor
and
acte
amending some
normative,
normative
precum
acts
și
and
potrivit
under
regulamentului de
the
organizare și
Commission's rules of
funcționare a
organization and functioning
Subiectul
as part of the
audierii de
evaluation
astăzi este
process.
domnul Ion
The
Bulhac,
subject of today's
judecător la
hearing
Curtea de
is
Apel Centru.
Mr. Ion Bulhac,
Domnule judecător
judge
Bulhac, bună ziua.
at the Central Court
Bine
of
ați venit.
Appeal. Welcome, Mr. Bulhac.
Împreună cu mine sunt ceilalți doi
I
membri
am
ai
joined by the
comitetului.
two other
La dreapta
panel
mea
members.
este,
To my right is
domnul Lilian Enciu, membru
Mr.
național
Lilian
al
Enciu,
Comisiei.
national member of the
În partea
Commission.
stângă este doamna
To my
Lavly
left
Perling, membru
is
internațional
Madam
al
Lavly
Comisiei.
Perling,
Completul este
international
desemnat
member of the
de
Commission.
membrii
The panel
ai
is also
secretariatului.
assisted by members of its
Și în spatele
secretariat.
noastră se află,
Behind you
reprezentanții
are
ai mass media și ai
representatives
publicului.
of the media and the
De
public.
asemenea, la ședință este prezent un fotograf
Also
care
present today is
va
a photographer
face câteva fotografii
who
în
will be
timpul
taking
ședinței.
photographs at the opening of this
Audierea se
hearing.
va desfășura cu interpretare
The hearing
simultană
will be
în limba
conducted
română și engleză, pentru a
with
permite o
interpretation between
interpretare
Romanian
corectă.
and English. To allow for accurate interpretation, I ask everyone to speak clearly and slowly.
Audierile sunt înregistrate
Furthermore,
audio
the
și video.
proceedings are being recorded,
Înregistrările
audio and video.
audierilor,
The recordings of the
sunt
public hearings
publice, făcute
generally
disponibile pe
will
site-ul
be
Comisiei,
available online
în decurs de 3
on
zile
the
de la audiere.
Commission's website
Partea audierii
within
se va
3
desfășura
days
în ședință
after the
închisă,
hearing.
nu va fi
The
disponibilă
closed
pe
part
site-ul
of the
Comisiei,
hearing will
dar
not
va
be
fi
available on the Commission's
înregistrată
website,
și
but
inclusă în
will be
dosarul de
recorded
evaluare. În timpul
for
audierii,
and
unul sau
included
mai mulți
in the
membri ai
materials
comitetului
of the
vă vor
evaluation
adresa
file.
întrebări,
During the hearing, one of
la care vă rog să
or more
răspundeți
members of the
în
panel
mod
may
sincer și
ask
complet.
questions to you, and I would
Explicațiile
ask you to
noastre
answer them
importante
truthfully
pentru
and
procesul de
completely. Your
evaluare.
explanations
La
are
sfârșitul
important to the
audierii
panel
vi se
in
va fi-
verifying your
vi se va
financial and
oferi
ethical
cu
integrity.
ocazia să
At the end of the
adresați
hearing,
ultimul
you will be
cuvânt,
given the
o
opportunity to
declarație
make
finală.
a brief closing statement.
La adresarea întrebărilor, noi vom ține cont de
In
viața
posing
noastră
questions,
privată.
we will take
Nu
into
vom
account
indica
your privacy.
adrese, nume complete, coduri personale,
Where
numere de
required,
conturi,
so
și
we will
alte
leave
date.
out unnecessary
Pentru
details
protecția
relating
vieții
to
private, vă
ID
rugăm
numbers,
să
bank
terminați
account
să faceți
numbers,
același
addresses,
lucru.
or real estate and the
Voi
like.
începe
For the
prin a
protection of
trece
your
în
privacy,
revistă
we ask you to do the same.
etapele
I
procedurii de
will
evaluare.
start by briefly reviewing
a domnului
the
judecător
evaluation
Ion
process
Bulhac.
of
Comisia a inițiat
Judge
evaluarea la 11
Mr.
aprilie
Bulhac.
2024,
The
notificându-l pe
Commission
domnul judecător Bulhac prin e-mail și solicitându-i să completeze și
initiated
trimită un
its
chestionar de etică
evaluation
și declarațiile prevăzute de legea numărul 252.
on April 11, 2024, by notifying the judge by email and asking him to complete and return an ethics questionnaire and the declarations required by law 252. Return and Mr. Judge returned the completed declarations and questionnaire on
Serviciul Fiscal de Stat, Inspectoratul General al
30
Poliției
April
Frontieră,
2024. As
alte
part of
instituții
evaluating
publice,
a subject's ethical and
instituții
financial
financiare
integrity, the
și
Commission
din
also
alte
obtains
surse
information from
deschise.
many other sources such as
Comisia
National
evaluează
Integrity Authority,
relevanța
the
și
State Fiscal
veritatea
Service,
informațiilor
the
pe
General
care le
Inspectorate
obține.
for the Border Police, other public
La
institutions,
24
institution
septembrie
and other sources.
2024,
On
Comisia a solicitat domnului
24 September
Bulhac
2024,
furnizeze
the
informații
Commission
suplimentare
asked
până la 6
Judge Ion
octombrie
Bulhac to
2024.
provide additional
La 3 octombrie,
information
domnul Bulhac a trimis o cerere de prelungire a
by
termenului de
6
furnizare a
October 2024 in order to
răspunsurilor, iar la 6
clarify
octombrie
certain
2024,
matters.
Comisia
On 6
a
October
prelungit
2024,
termenul inițial de prezentare
the
a răspunsurilor
Commission
până la
prolonged
16
the
octombrie 2024.
deadline
La 7 octombrie
until
2024,
16th of October
domnul Bulhac a
2024.
trimis
On
răspunsurile parțiale la
7th of
întrebările adresate
October
Comisiei,
2024,
fără
Ion
a prezenta
Bulhac
anexe.
sent the partial
Ulterior,
answers
răspuns în
to
termen
the
nou acordat
answers
și a furnizat
asked
răspunsul
to the
și
questions asked by
documente
the Commission
la 16
without
octombrie
presenting the
2024.
annexes. The subject
La 31
answered
octombrie
in the
2024, Comisia
new
a solicitat
deadline and provided
domnului Bulhac să
answers and
furnizeze
documents by
informații
16
suplimentare
of
până la
October
7
2024.
noiembrie
On
2024,
31st October,
pentru
October
clarificarea unui aspecte.
2024,
La 6
we
noiembrie
notified
2024,
that the panel had
domnul Bulhac a
identified
trimis o
and
cerere de
wishes to
prelungire a termenului
discuss some areas of doubt
pentru furnizarea
about his
răspunsurilor.
compliance with the ethical and
6
financial
7
criteria
noiembrie
and also invited him to
2024,
attend
Comisia a
the
prelungit termenul
hearing.
până la 17 noiembrie 2024.
The
Subiectul a răspuns în termenul oferit. și-a prezentat răspunsul
The
documente la
Commission
15
on
noiembrie
7th of November
2024.
2024 prolonged the
La 3
deadline
decembrie 2024,
until
Comisia a
17th
votat
of November. On 3rd December
a treia rundă de
2024,
întrebări
the Commission
domnului Bulhac,
sent the
solicitând informații
third round of questions
suplimentare
to
până la
Mr.
12
Bulhac
decembrie
by requiring
2024.
additional information to be sent
Răspunsurile au fost transmise
by
domnului Bulhac
12th
în termenul
of December 2024.
stabilit la 12
The
decembrie
subject
2024.
answer
La
in
18 decembrie
due
2024,
time
Comisia a
by
solicitat
12 December
judecătorului
2024.
Bulhac să
On
furnizeze
18th of
informații
December, the Commission
suplimentare până la 27
requested the subject to
decembrie
provide additional
2024.
information by 27th of
Răspunsurile
December
au fost
2024.
oferite în termen.
The answers were
15
sent
ianuarie
in due
2025,
time.
Comisia a
On
solicitat
15th of
domnului
January
Bulhac să furnizeze
2024, the Commission
informații
requested
suplimentare
Judge
până la 25
Ion Bulhac to provide
2025
additional information
pentru
by
a
21st of
clarifica
January
ultimele
2025
aspecte.
in order to
Răspunsurile au
clarify
fost
the
oferite
last
în termenul,
matters of
în
interest.
termenul
The
stabilit,
subject
fiind
answered
recepționate de comisie la 17 ianuarie
in due
2025.
time, and the documents and answers were
24
received by the Commission on 17th of January 2025. On 24 January 2024, the Commission informed Mr. Judge Ion Bulhac about the doubts identified
al corespunderii criteriilor etice și financiare.
about his
Tot
compliance with the
atunci,
ethical
ați
and
fost
financial
invitat pentru audierea de
criteria,
astăzi.
and you also were
La
invited
27
to attend
ianuarie
today's
2025,
hearing. On 27th January
domnul judecător
2025,
Bulhac a expediat
Mr.
comisiei
Judge Ion
cerere
Bulhac
privind accesul la
sent the
materialele
Commission
evaluării și a solicitat ca audierea să
a
aibă
request
loc parțial
for
în
access to the
ședință
evaluation
închisă.
materials and requested that the hearing be held partially in closed session. The Secretariat of the Commission ensured access to the evaluation material, and the Commission accepted the request of the judge. On 3rd of February,
Domnule judecător Bulhac, doriți să rectificați sau să completați răspunsurile
Mr. Bulhac,
pe care
do
le-ați
you
furnizat la
want to correct
solicitările
or
anterioare ale Comisiei?
add anything to the answers that you previously provided to the Commission?
Microfonul, vă rog să
Please
porniți.
don't forget to turn on your mic.
Microfonul, vă rog frumos să porniți.
Don't forget your mic.
Deci reiese din întrebările.
Încă o dată, și căștile vă rog să puneți
And
pentru traducători ca să
Please
auziți.
put your headset on to hear the interpretation.
Nu mă aud pe mine atunci.
I will hear
Reiese
myself
din
then.
întrebările acordate,
Well,
deci
Considering the questions
eu am
asked,
unele. O să fac referire la
I will
unele
refer
materiale care
to
deja sunt la
certain materials
sunt anexate la anterior,
annexed
pur și simplu eu
previously.
acum le-am luat, dar pentru mine. Și totodată,
At the same time,
reișând din întrebările pentru
considering
pentru audierile de astăzi,
the questions for today's hearing,
am solicitat unele declarații, unele
I
materiale
requested
care o să solicit ca comisia să le
some
anexeze,
materials
dar ele
that
nu
I'd like
sunt,
to ask the Commission to annex
n-aș spune că
further.
este ceva nou pentru
This is
comisie.
not something new
S-a
for
discutat
the
în runda
Commission
de întrebări,
nonetheless.
acesta s-a discutat.
Le aveți cu dumneavoastră?
Do
Da,
you
le-am-
have these
le-am
materials
acum,
with you?
eu
Yes.
ceva ieri am anexat, dacă nu
I
mă greșesc, dar dacă
annexed
nu am
something
anexat, deci-
yesterday,
dar ele nu e
if I
nimic
remember
nou pentru
correctly.
Atunci,
It's
eu
nothing
vă
new
propun
for the Commission. Then I suggest the
mod de
following.
lucru. Noi o să trecem la rundele de întrebări
We'll
și atunci
move
acolo
on
unde o să
to
fie
the
pertinente
rounds of
înscrisurile și
questions,
informațiile
and
respective,
where
noastre
this
o să le prezentați.
information
Da, eu
is
așa și mi le-am
Ok.
relevant,
Perfect.
you'll present them. Okay,
Um,
good, thank you.
Așa. Răspunsurile din chestionarul de etică și declarațiile pe care le-ați
The
returnat comisiei la 30 aprilie
answers
2024
From
sunt
the
valabile
ethics
și la data de
questionnaire
astăzi?
and declarations that you sent back on 30th of April 2024 are
În continuare,
valid
membrii
as of
comitetului vor
today,
adresa
yes.
anumite întrebări
in
legate
the
de
following,
dubii de comunicare.
members of the panel will
Vom
ask you
încerca
additional
ca
questions.
întrebările noastre să fie
We will
scurte și la
try to keep
obiect
our
și,
questions
vă
short
rugăm
and to
ca
the
și
point.
dumneavoastră, ca
We
răspunsurile
ask you
dumneavoastră să fie la fel
that
scurte și
your
mai aproape
answers
de
be short
obiectul
and
întrebării.
to the point as well.
Vom începe cu dubiile ce urmează a fi
We
examinate
will
în
start
ședință
with the
publică,
doubts that will be discussed
iar la
in
sfârșit
public
vom discuta
session.
acele dubii pentru care a fost
And at the end, we
admisă
will
cererea
discuss the
noastră de
issues
ședință
for which the
parțială
closed
închisă.
session was allowed, the partial closed
În
session was
continuare,
allowed.
doamna Perling vă va acorda întrebări cu
Madam
privire la
Perling
dubiile
will ask you
comunicare.
questions about the doubts.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, Mr. Candidate, we would like to ask from you some questions. And we would like to ask from you questions about inexplicable wealth, as your answers have been different when I think it's important to clarify your final version. The second issue is suspicious loan of your daughter. Then we would like to ask questions about the car, Toyota RAV price, ECHR cases, and the last, the closed hearing part, will be issue of deposits. And let's start from the beginning, about inexplicable wealth. First of all, could you tell us, do you have some kind of general explanation why your answers through the evaluation have changed?
Dacă este să vorbim despre anii 2015, 17, 20,
We're talking about 2015, 2017, 2020, 2023.
I will ask very soon detailed questions, but maybe you have some kind of general explanation why in the first round questions you talked about that you have spent money, in the second round that you saved money. So do you have some kind of specific reason that you have changed your answer, or no? And we can move and ask year after year.
Deci răspunsurile, poate în viziunea comisiei, ele au fost diferite.
Perhaps the Commission perceived these answers as different, but the purpose was not to change my statements and my position throughout the rounds. These are figures and I cannot change the figures, the numbers.
Că au fost comisia, eu am scris, banii au fost folosiți pentru gospodărie.
Wrote down that the money was used for the household, for consumption expenditures, for daily expenses. I've seen that the Commission at one stage asked, as you mentioned now, about the savings for the next year, the so-called reserve for next years. In some answers, I said that these were savings, but we can take each year separately, and I can explain what I've already explained previously. And I can provide several analyses that I prepared for 2020 and 2023 bank statements and some expenses analysis. Unfortunately, for 2015-2017, I don't have such analysis because the bank doesn't have the data. But for these 2 years, I took some information from the bank, and the Commission has this information in its possession. I presented the calculations, my calculations, before, that are in a way the same as the Commission's.
Thank you for the explanations. And let's talk about year 2015. Yes. And please answer as shortly as possible, because we already have your answers. But I read you now the facts. For 2015, your household total expenses appear to exceed your household's income by at least 70,771 lei. You accept it. In the third... Yeah, in the third round of questions, the Commission presented to you the figures for the inexplicable wealth for 2015. You agreed to all of the figures, except the ATM withdrawals. Yes, yes. You mentioned that not the entire amount of cash withdrawals was spent in 2015. So the amount of 215,492 lei should not be considered of spending of 2015. Your answers, yes. You said that you didn't spend. Now, in the second round of questions, the specific amount 215,492 lei, extracted cash in 2015 was presented to you, and you explained that the cash withdrawals were used to cover daily needs, purchase of goods. You also mentioned that you prefer to manage the salary in the cash, given that it more practical method for you. Yes. And now, after the third round of question, the Commission took note of your explanations and included the expenses of your daughter's studies in the cash withdrawals. And now, my very simple question is, could you please now tell us or explain if you have made any additional purchase with this amount extracted in 2015? Maybe you remember now during hearings the best.
Mersi de întrebare. Deci,
Thank you for your question.
Anul 2015 a fost un an mai
Year
specific.
2015 was a rather specific
Dacă
one.
ați observat, nici în vacanță nu am fost, pentru
If
că în
you've
anul
seen,
acela
I didn't go on
a decedat
holiday.
tatăl meu și nu
That
am
year,
fost preocupat.
my father
Vara s-a
passed
întâmplat,
away.
adică toamna, dar
It happened
vara a fost spitalizat și
in the autumn, but in the summer
Nici în
he has
vacanță
been
n-am fost.
hospitalized, so I didn't go
nu
on
am
holiday
efectuat
that year.
N-am efectuat careva
I did not
cumpărături de
have
decât cele care pentru întreținerea familiei.
Significant purchases
Acestea au fost
beside
cheltuielile.
the
Dar ce
expenses,
doresc eu
daily
să
expenses for the
menționez,
household
ceea
and
ce
the
am
family.
menționat pentru toți anii, ceea ce
I
am
mentioned
menționat pentru
this for
acest an
all
și
the
voi
years
menționa
and
pentru
for I mentioned this for this year and I will mention this for 2020, 2017,
Eu
2023.
întotdeauna am negat că retragerile de la ATM au fost puse în 100% la cheltuieli.
These cash withdrawals were not 100% in expenses, in expenditures.
Nu este mare această sumă.
Yes, but please, I ask one more time. I just ask about 2015 and about the specific purchase. Yes or no? Do you remember something more? No.
Cumpărături specifice?
Okay, please shortly, please.
No.
Yeah, no. Okay. Then my simple question is that could you now tell us if you kept this money in a deposit, made an investment, or you just kept it as cash savings? Because there are three different opinions. And what is your final answer?
Răspunsul final este
The final answer is that the $8,000 from 2014 that go to 2016, they were a bank deposit. Otherwise, the rest of the money was in cash. I extracted this, I withdrew the money over the year and it was used for household expenses. Except for $8,000, other cash was not used.
Thank you. Now let's talk about 2017. Yes. For 2017, your household total expenses appear to exceed your household income by at least 9,444 lei. And this imbalance was generated by the fact that in the third round of questions, you mitigated the imbalance for 2012. Yeah. However, the fact that the selling of Mercedes car was indicated as income of 55,000 lei in 2012. After your explanations, it led to misbalance in 2017. But given the fact your family did not have any acquisition of movable or immovable assets in 2017, the only spending considered were ATM withdrawals of 195,620 leis and retail expenses of 2,013 leis. So the retail expenses and the expenses incurred by your family at various commercial establishments. And now the same question. What about year 2017? If you made any purchase with amount extracted in 2017 or no?
Deci, dacă o să vorbim, ați spus ceva de mașină, de autoturism.
You mentioned the car.
Acest autoturism, el
That
a fost
car
înstrăinat, deci de
was
iure în 2017.
alienated de jure in 2017. it was in my name. So every year I had to declare it in my assets declaration because it was registered under my name and I had to declare it. But the owner, the future owner, was using the car and in 2017 registered the car in his name. In the assets declaration, where this amount is mentioned, 55,000 lei. Yes, I presented the fact that the purchase sale contract happened, was concluded in 2017, but it was not an income for me in 2017. The income was back in 2012. And there was a criminal case related to this as well. Other expenses for the household, for the family, other expenses besides the household expenses in 2017, there were none, except for a holiday. Every year, I withdraw the money from the ATM, and the Commission might have seen that every year I withdraw cash from ATM. And I confirmed this for the Commission before. This amount was not withdrawn once at a time, but throughout a longer period of time, and some savings would have been kept for next years. But real estate, movables, immovables, I did not buy with that money, and this was the explanation provided.
Could you please explain why, just why, to understand why you take money off? It's legal, it's normal if you want to do it, but we just try to understand why. What is your explanation? Why you do it? Why you behave in that way?
That was my special and personal need. I decided to withdraw money for some daily needs. This is how I am, and this is done by me on a yearly basis, not necessarily in that specific year. The Commission has documented this, and I can prove that there is evidence that I've done that along the years. This is how I behave with regard to the money I have. And this is how I do on a monthly basis. I withdraw money in order to pay for the utilities and other expenses which are needed for myself, because I prefer to pay for the invoices in cash at the postal service, because every time I paid the invoice at the postal service, I also received some money from someone.
Thank you. But let's now talk about year 2020, and the big question is same: you spent money or you saved money? For 2020, your household total expenses appear to exceed your household income by at least 304,922 lei. And now, in the third round of questions, the Commission presented to you the figures for the inexplicable wealth for 2020. And again, you agreed to all the figures except the ATM withdrawals. You also presented a contractual price for purchasing of Toyota RAV4, which was different from the price indicated by the customs service, but we will talk about it later. So, you mentioned that not the entire amount of cash withdrawals was spent in 2020. So the amount of 314,851 lei should not be considered a spending for 2020, yes? But as mentioned above, in the second round of questions, this specific amount of 314,851 lei extracted cash in 2020 was presented to you, and you explained that the cash withdrawals were used to cover daily needs, purchase of goods, and the same questions. So please explain if you have made any additional purchase with amount extracted in 2020, or what would you like to say?
Din acest punct de vedere,
So from this point of view,
ce doresc să explic?
I would like to
Deja ceea
explain
ce am menționat pentru 2015, 2017,
everything that I mentioned for 2015 and 2017 with regards to ATM withdrawals. The Commission actually has this information because based on this information, there is another question in this respect, and you will see that the amount withdrawn have a pattern. You see 3,000 lei, 200, 2,000, 8,000. I take money out only when I need to cover my personal expenses. And also I save some part of those money for my family in order to have some cash. In 2020, indeed, there are many information with regard to the payments with bank card. If you'll notice, the payments conducted with these cards happened during the COVID-19, during the pandemic, and you will see those payments are very small. Those transactions are small amounts of money. But what is important to show to the Commission is that for that respective year, if we take a look at the Commission's question, it's a question about the amount of 100,000 lei, which was extracted on 30 December. And I believe that the biggest question...
This is already the next question.
Yeah,
but maybe before we continue with the 105,000 transaction, I would like to ask, but why you have changed that you spent money or you saved money after when the Commission provided you figures? Because why?
Could you please rephrase your question?
Why you have changed your answers through the rounds of the questions? Saved money or spent money? Because if I read you the questions, we see that after Commission presented your figures, you changed your answer. And my simple question is why? Because only you know you spent money or saved money.
So my answer is the same, actually. I always said that I spent money, indeed. Of course, it might be not a complete answer, but I also have saved some money, because when I made the declaration, when I made the statement to National Integrity Agency, I didn't have the amount. I indicated a smaller amount. My answer has always been during the first round of questions that I didn't spend all the money which was shown by the Commission as withdrawn. I clearly revealed that those money have been used for my household, but at the same time, actually this is the answer, I also have some reserves. Some economists, I don't know why Commission understood these things differently, because my position has always been that Commission has indicated that the amount withdrew from ATMs has been spent entirely, and this is not correct, this is wrong, and I always tried to show that that amount has not been spent entirely. Indeed, I withdrew some money periodically, and by the way, in some round of questions I also pointed out to some economists I did along the way, but I never said that I spent the entire amount of money for my household.
Anul 2020, după cum
In
dumneavoastră chiar și cunoașteți, a
2020,
fost
as you
un
may
an mai
well
specific.
know, has been
Eu vorbesc din
rather
punctul de
specific.
vedere
I'm
a
talking
cheltuielilor.
from the spending perspective. It was a specific year, and I couldn't take out all the money from my days and spend all of them. This was my answer actually all the time. I have never said that I spent all the money entirely.
Dar vă rog încă
Okay,
întrebări. Da.
okay, and let's continue now with 105 lei. And it was identified, as you mentioned, 30th December 2020. Could you please explain what was the purpose of it, of this transaction?
Este vorba de 30 decembrie, da? Probabil.
Actually, we are talking about 30th of December.
2020, 105,000, yes, please.
Da. Această sumă a fost
This
pe contul
amount
meu salarial.
has been on
Eu am
my
extras-o,
salary
care
account.
a fost ca
I withdrew
rezervă
this
pentru anul
amount which I
următor.
used as an economy for the next
Aceasta și-a
year.
fost scopul.
This was
Eu am extras suma
my
care era
goal.
la
I
bancomat,
withdrew
mi-am
the
extras
money
pentru
from the
mine să am
ATM
rezervă.
for myself in order to have some economies. This is my approach with regard to the salaries and my income.
A fost suma extrasă.
I withdrew the money, as you noticed, before the New Year, and I kept it. I made economies.
Acum, în acest context, o să ne uităm,
And-
Comisia spune
And
că
we
eu am
will see.
retras
Commission said that I withdrew
290.410 lei
200.
de la bancomat. Eu
I
am confirmat
withdrew
această sumă. Ia puțin de fier,
290,410
dar
lei.
este această sumă.
Indeed,
împreună cu
we are
soția.
talking about
Probabil
this
că așa
amount.
și
We
este
did it
scris.
along with
Și
my
totodată, dacă
wife.
vă uitați la
And
următoarea, deci
at the same
această
time,
sumă
if
este
we'll
pusă iarăși la
notice
cheltuieli.
another information,
fi așa ceva.
this
Din
amount
nou,
was
această sumă
indicated,
pusă la cheltuieli.
included in
Vedem și
spendings,
dacă
in
să ne uităm că
expenses.
extras 30
If we
decembrie,
look at the statement for 30 December, I'm not sure if the hour is indicated. However, I was able to spend that amount without being able to buy something, an asset, for example,
nu știu, imobil.
Yes,
a significant asset.
Thank you, and that's why it's important question that if we talk about the 105,000, and at the same time we know that your cash savings in the end of the year 2020, it was 206,880. So what about the 105,000? It was part of his savings or it was separately additional saving?
Suma era economie, dar nu de 260.
We are not talking about the amount of 260,000 at the end of the year.
No, my question is, what about the 105,000? Is it part of your savings? Because we talk about your saving 206,000 something. Is it part of it, or this is some kind of additional saving amount?
Deci dumneavoastră, eu am înțeles suma de 200 și ceva.
Yeah.
Vorbim de acei 8.000 de
We
dolari
are
care
talking
se
about
aflau
those
la contul
8,000 euro
bancar.
that were
Da,
put on
aceasta
my
este. Dumneavoastră
bank
vorbiți de
account.
această
You are
sumă
talking
de
about this amount,
96.000 estimativ de lei sau 97 și suma de
96,000 lei and the
V-am
amount of
înțeles.
105,000 lei. So the amount of 2,000 lei is part of the economies in cash. The rest of the amount is a bank deposit, bank reserves, and it was held in my bank account up until 2022, and this amount has been a reserve in cash. It was withdrawn on 30 December, and I wasn't able to spend it, of course, because it's a great amount of money. I withdrew those money from my bank account, and it's now part of my personal economies kept in my household.
And the year
Și
2023,
în anul 2023,
this is quite similar
acest lucru,
situation.
avem practic o situație destul de similară.
Eu nu aud. Probabil că nu.
So for 2023, your household total expenses appear to exceed your household income by at least 402,216 leis. And in the third round of question, the Commission presented to you the figures for the inexplicable wealth for the 2023. Again, you agreed to the figures expect the ATM withdrawals. You mentioned that not the entire amount of cash withdrawals were spent in 2023, and so the amount of 314,778 leis should not be considered of spending of 2023. But at the second round of question, the specific amount, 314,778 lei extracted cash in 2023 was presented to you. And you explained that the cash withdrawals were used to cover daily needs. So, what about 2023? Have you done any additional purchase with this amount? Or what is your explanation? You kept money in deposit, you made an investment, or you kept the cash savings?
Indeed, thank you for your question. The year of 2023, if we are talking about the withdrawals from ATM, we have a similar situation. I withdrew all the amount. As you can see, periodically, I withdrew 2,000 and 5,000 depending on the situation. In 2023, maybe I have not retained something very clearly, maybe I have forgotten something, but I will try to explain. First of all, I need to emphasize that I have the same situation. A part of the money was spent on personal needs of my household. Another part of money has been kept as economies at the end of the year, and at the same time, I can prove by ATM statements that an approximate amount that Commission indicated has been used in order to buy real estate, approximately 50,000 lei, which was also deposited on my salary account. So I extracted this amount from my salary account. So I did the same as I did yearly. I used a part of money for daily needs of my household. The amount of 50,000 lei, approximately 50,000 lei, has been used for buying real estate, but also I did some economies for the next year. Indeed, during 2023, indeed, in 2022, I actually was able to sell the apartment. I have presented the sale and purchase agreement, but also information. And we are talking about 2022, but information is provided for 2023. And we are talking about the amount of 50,000 euro, and that amount has been introduced, actually placed as an economy for 2023, which comes or which originates from 2022. Because in 2023 we do have this influx of money, but this is actually stemming from the fact that I've been able to sell my apartment. Therefore, the amount, the capital of my family has increased, and I deposited all those money in a bank account. This is my answer.
Thank you. I ask from my colleagues, would you like to ask a question about inexplicable wealth, and then I continue with the next topic.
Let's now go back for clarity to the year 2015. the withdrawal of salaries from your bank card has been your decision in order to be able to manage your money in cash. At the same time, at the beginning of 2015, you said you had economies in cash. Could you please tell us whether the cash economies at the beginning of 2015 were utilized during 2015? Thank you for your question. Indeed, the economies in cash from 2014, if I'm not mistaken, the amount of 40,000 lei, those were some economies. Indeed, they were utilized in 2015, but based on those economies, I also did some reserves which I declared at the beginning of 2015, because in the calculations that I presented yesterday, which was a more simple and straightforward one, indeed, the money from 2014. Again, I can say that I used those money again with my income from 2015, but those money also served as an economy in order to increase my economy at the end of 2015. This was my position. I can say that I used for myself, but also to supplement my savings, my cash savings at the end of the year, in order to have a larger amount of money, which I clearly indicated. This information has been presented. I'm talking about 80,000 lei. This is my answer, because that specific amount actually has increased my capital from 2015, but at the same time I did some savings at the end of 2015. That means that throughout 2015 you have utilized both your salary income, but also some savings stemming from 2014. And also from your salary income, you managed to do some saving at the end of the year in amount of 80,000 lei. Is that correct? That's correct. I already explained this amount. It helped me increase my capital alongside with my salary and dividends. And each month I also received some allowances. I'm not willing to talk about that now. And all those money together, taking together, if we are talking namely about 40,000 lei, indeed that amount helped me to increase my savings. And also this some amount actually helped me increase my savings in cash.
I suppose, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. You did the same in the following years. You used a part of your salary and a part of your savings. But cash savings, I repeat, cash savings, were done from salary income. Yes? I always had the same modus operandi, the same position. Every year it was the same, yes. Please look at year 2020. Consumption expenditures. Please tell us, did you use your salary bank account and card, basically, to pay for goods or services? Did you use your card to purchase goods or services in 2020?
Am și menționat
Yes.
că anul 2020
And
a
I've
fost un
mentioned
an mai specific.
that
cunoașteți
2020
și
was
în
a
genere
rather specific year.
puțin totul era închis.
And you know
În
this.
câteva luni de zile a fost
Almost
mai multe luni de
everything
zile a fost o parte din
was
piețe,
closed.
alte magazine au fost
The
închise.
markets,
Și
shops
într-adevăr, anul
were closed.
acela, doar să zicem așa, am folosit
And
cardul la
that
procurare,
year,
dar
I
dacă o să
used
vă uitați
my
atent în
card
departamentul
to
la mine este
buy
dar are și comisia, deci
different goods.
s-a folosit cardul doar la procurare.
And you can see that I used or I paid by card to purchase foodstuffs. You can see the amounts, 200 lei, 300 lei, and you can see there groceries.
Majoritatea aceasta a avut loc în luna februarie, începând cu și terminând cu luna mai.
It
când
was
a
between
fost,
February and
pandemia.
May,
Atunci eu am folosit
during
mai
the
permanent cardul pentru că altă
heat of the pandemic. I used my credit card because it was
nu era de dorit, de dus pe undeva, de
the
cunoașteți
situation
foarte bine.
where you
Și nici
couldn't
nu
go
lucram, deci noi am lucrat în fiecare
purchase
zi,
something
dar asta și-a fost.
outside of
Nu
your
era
house.
cazul atunci prin oraș sau ceva, direct la magazin și acasă. Asta ne impune
And
situația
usually
respectivă.
during that time you'd go to the shop, to the store, buy something and go back home. I used my credit card for that, and you can see that it's only for groceries.
Și dacă îmi permiteți să intervin,
And if I may,
bănuiesc că aceasta și-a apărut, asta a fost întotdeauna poziția mea, eu nu am schimbat
it's always been my position. I did not change my position since the first round of questions till the end. And I think this is the core of the problem, the consumption expenditures related to savings and incomes. I think this is the core of the problem for the Commission, and I hope that I was able to provide explanations. Okay, but in 2023, did you use your credit card
pentru produse alimentare
to
sau alte bunuri.
buy groceries or other goods?
Foarte puțin.
Very little.
Dacă o să chiar am calculat,
I made some calculations,
suma de 2000 de lei.
and it's about 2,000 lei.
2023, deci a fost calculat.
In
Eu
2023,
chiar am calculat, am rămas și eu curios, 2600 de lei.
so it's a 2,600 lei for a year. I made the calculations. The salary is 300 and something thousand lei, and the payments made by card were amounting to 2,600 lei.
Economiile de numerar.
So
La sfârșitul
the
anului
cash
2023.
savings at the end of 2023,
Deci ați reușit să le faceți din venituri.
were you able to make
salarial
those
sau
cash savings from your
ați
salary
păstrat
income,
careva economii
or
numerar
did
din
you
anul precedent?
keep some savings, cash savings from the previous year?
2022,
From the previous year, 2022,
tot am avut economii numerar.
I had some cash savings, and as explained for 2015, I increased my capital for 2023, and together with the savings that I made in 2023, I reached the cash savings declared for 2024.
Deci au fost iarăși economii din anul 2022.
These were cash savings from 2022, and the ATM withdrawals that were kept and not spent, and they went to 2024. In 2024, I used and use these cash savings. Actually, I used them because we're now in 2025.
Okay, thank you. Let's continue and let's talk about the loan offered to your daughter and to you in 2023. The fact is that according to the cadastre database, your daughter registered on her name 219.6 square meters non-residential space, yes, in Chișinău. And according to the cadastre database, you also purchased a half share of 144 square meters non-tenant space in 2023 at the same address. According to the information, we know that your daughter also made a payment of a property 2,598,908 lei, and it was 10th of May 2023. And the source of funds used by your daughter to purchase this property was a loan, 3 million lei. And it was offered to her from a third person, Virel Puris, I don't know how to say the name, Purice. And now here we still have questions. Could you please shortly explain or repeat the relationship with a third person? Relationship with you or with your daughter? The simple question, simple contract, 3 million, how you got the loan? What about the relationships, first of all?
There's no relationship with me. I don't know this person. About the relationship between my daughter and this person, as indicated in all the rounds of the question, is a relationship with Vyacheslav Skripnik, who's a lawyer and who represents the interests of this person in court.
Deci, după cum am menționat că finul nostru este omul de legătură
godson, this person, so our godson actually is the person that links these two other persons, the third party and the daughter.
Do you know the background of a loan? I mean, why the person agreed to give the loan without guarantees? Do you know the background of a loan?
Of course, I don't know all the background and circumstances, but I know some details because it's my daughter. My daughter has her own family and children, but of course, I know of some circumstances. And this is what I explained previously to the Commission. The godson had the important role in linking the third party and my daughter. Or perhaps I did not remember correctly the question.
Yes, the property is here in Moldova. Your daughter lives in Romania. And you also got your part of this space. So still, my question is very simple. That what you know, how your daughter found the solution to get the loan in this way? Whose initiative it was?
I'd like to rectify. The share of mine is not in that residence. You said that it's the same space. No. I have a part of the loan. A part of the loan belongs to me. Perhaps I did not understand correctly, but I have a share of the loan, not of the property. Yes, I bought a property, a real estate,
O să încerc să fiu foarte succint, dar totodată
from
și
that
să
money,
i-
with that
să
money.
explic comisiei. După ce am
And I'd like to
înstrăinat
briefly
acest
explain to
imobil
the
meu,
Commission.
apartamentul,
After I
am
sold my
depozitat
apartment,
banii.
I deposited
Este o
the
familie
money.
care am indicat-o mai des rolul acestei familii
And
și care
I
dețin
mentioned
cotă parte
several
din
times
bunul
the
imobil
role
procurat de
of
mine.
that family.
A spus, nu trebuie denumit familie, dar comisia are.
The Commission
Și iată, noi
has
suntem
the name
cu
of that
această familie,
family,
suntem
and
în
with that
relații
family,
de când eram
we-
student, încă eu, 30
I have
ceva
good
de ani.
relationships
Și sigur că ne
since
întâlnim,
I
desigur, că
was
discutăm.
a student.
Cu
So
familia
we
pe
have
care
a
eu
long-standing
dețin.
relationship
Vă
for
rog să fiți atenți, cu
33
care eu dețin cota parte
years.
care am
The
procurat
family
bunul
with
acesta
which I
imobil.
bought that
meu imobil.
real estate, my
Și,
real estate, not my daughter's.
Am comunicat că am vândut, am înstrăinat
I mentioned
apartamentul.
that I
Deoseb,
sold
totul
my
ne
apartment.
întâlnim, poate chiar și în fiecare săptămână, discutăm, eu nu am cercuri de larg ca
I
să
meet
vă
with
explic
her
anumite
husband
chestiuni chiar
several
personale.
times a month.
Și după ce am înstrăinat acest bun imobil,
After
apartament, cu urma să fie
I
înstrăinat,
alienated this
așa am
apartment.
hotărât toată familia că urmează să fie
The entire
înstrăinat.
family
M-am
decided
interesat
for this apartment to be alienated, to be sold.
să
So
procur ceva,
I
pentru că
was
banii
interested
care se
in
aflau la
buying
bancă, am
something
deschis cont
because
bancar ca să fie
I
o
opened
evidență
a
și să
bank
fie-
account
să
to
fie
have the
acești bani
money
păstrați acolo,
registered
dar scopul
for
n-a
the
fost
money
să
to
fie
be
banii
kept
păstrați
there.
acolo.
But the
Doamna
end
pe care
goal
eu am
was not to
procurat,
just keep the
comisia
money in the
s-a
bank account.
documentat, sunt încrezut, se ocupă și are deține mai multe imobile.
The lady I
Atunci
bought
noi am
the
discutat,
property
ar fi
from
dorit să procur ceva.
has a good record and has
Bunul care l-a
several
cumpărat
properties.
fiica este bun,
The
comun
property
cu
bought
doamna.
my
Adică el are același intrare,
bought by my
dar să nu
daughter
confundați
is
bunul meu
joined
comun cu
with
cumpărat cu doamna respectivă, care
another
este-
lady. But
care
please
este tot
don't
indicat, au
mix
fost mai
up
multe
the property
întrebări.
that I bought
El
and
este
I have
comun
a
cu
share
doamna
of
care a
and
procurat
the
întâi, doamna a
property
avut un bun
that
acolo și
was
îl are.
bought by
Și o
my
intrare
daughter.
o intrare comună este cu bunul fiicei. Este într-o intrare comună,
It has a joint entrance.
Iată, doamna a venit cu ideea aceasta, dacă nu doresc să procur acest bun.
So actually, the lady that sold the property to my daughter came with the idea to sell me a share of that property as well.
Și de aici și-a apărut fiica, pentru că eu nu dispuneam de suma de bani.
I did not have the entire amount of money. I was not able to take such a big loan, and this is why my daughter had the idea to buy this property from the lady who is a neighbor.
Okay, but who negotiated? If we talk about the loan, because as we know, your daughter's salary in 2021 it was 12,000 lei, and she lived abroad. But who negotiated about the loan?
Deci, discuțiile, nu speciale discuții, pentru că nu a fost o întâlnire anume pentru
There was
aceasta. Iar așa a
no
fost ocazia, în
specific
primul rând, vreau
meeting
să spun
for
că fiul
that.
meu este
I want to mention that
vecin cu
my
mine, bine,
godson
nu
is
vecin,
my
alături. Ne întâlnim
neighbor
foarte des.
as well.
Și
He
la mine
lives
acasă
close
s-au
by.
pornit aceste
And we
discuții. Era o
started having
sărbătoare,
these
nu pot să spun
discussions
dacă este vorba
at my
primăvară,
house.
Paștele.
It was a
Aici
holiday,
chiar îl cunosc.
Easter perhaps,
Și
I
iată,
don't
anume, a
remember.
apărut aceste
And
discuții între
these
doamna,
discussions
iarăși,
occurred during
îmi vine să
some
spun familie,
holiday
dar nu
celebrations.
nu-i strașnic.
And
Bine,
can I say the
doamna
name
Aramă,
of
deci între
that
doamna
lady?
Aramă,
So
familia,
these
era
discussions
un
with
pic familia,
Madam
deci între doamna
Arama
Aramă, fiică
started.
și finul, care toți erau un
The
stil
discussions
la-
between
la-
my daughter, my
la noi.
godson,
Fiica era
and
un
Madam
pic de primăvară.
Arama.
Spun că asta s-a
My
petrecut
daughter
tot
came
în
for
sărbătorile de
holidays
Paște. Nu mai țin minte
during
corect.
Easter.
Și aceasta și-a fost discuția.
And
Și
this is
aceasta și
when the
finul s-a
discussion
oferit și a spus că
occurred.
eu,
This is when my
pentru că
godson
finul în viitor, eu am
made
indicat
this
lucrul acesta.
proposal.
S-a oferit și a spus că eu o să găsesc
He
acești
said,
bani. Și dacă
I would
observați,
find
onorată
the
comisie,
money.
că
And
începând
esteemed
cu
Commission,
primăvara
you can see that
2023,
starting
în
in
fiecare an,
spring
bine, 2 ani de
2023,
zile, în fiecare an, pe numele finului, a fost
every
întocmit
year,
procuri de către fiică.
power of
Pentru
attorneys have
gestionarea
been
acestui
registered
bun. Aceste procuri sunt întocmite
from my
notarial,
daughter.
sunt, finul
These
la fel,
power of attorneys
gestionează, că ați observat,
are
iarăși,
for
am
my
prezentat
godson
niște
to
certificate, a trecut
manage
cursuri de folosire de- adică
the
bunul
loans
este
and
în
everything, the
gestionare mai mult ca
property.
finul.
So
Asta a
basically,
fost,
my godson
de acolo
manages
s-au dus
the property, not my
toate
daughter.
negocierile.
And this is how all the
Okay,
negotiations
but
were made.
what about repaying of this loan? What about the schedule of
Da, eu am dorit să
Yes, I
adaug
actually wanted to add something about this.
Pe parcursul evaluării, desigur că permanent
During the evaluation,
discut cu fiica, numai decât că
I
discutăm
talked to
nu
my daughter.
acest subiect, toate
I speak to
subiectele,
my daughter
fiica
regularly,
fiind
not only
descărcare,
on
vine
this
în țară
topic. She's abroad,
și
she
permanent
sometimes
am,
come
tot
to
solicitam
Moldova.
documente.
And I would
Cum ați,
permanently
corect dumneavoastră ați
request
menționat.
documents
Dar
from
numai la
her.
aceasta, iată, fiica a intervenit și mersi fiicei, a intervenit în
I'm grateful to her at the end of 2024 in the third round of questions, if I'm not wrong, my daughter sent documents on the income of their family for 2024, and it was for 10 months, not for the full year. But my daughter, she's not employed, she's not working, but you saw the income in the documents for 2024 for 10 months. They had 70,000 euros. This is the income for the entire family. And this is the salary of her husband.
The question was very simple. Do you know about the schedule of a repayment? Have you seen it? Yeah, very good.
Yes, obviously.
And what do you know? Has she already repaid some money? Yes or no?
Nu.
No.
No,
Okay.
Dar eu pot să adaug aici.
but I can add something here,
Yes.
if I may.
Yeah, of course.
Deci nu a fost plătit, cum
No.
n-am achitat nici eu din acest împrumut.
I did not pay either. I
După
did not
cum v-am
make
spus și v-am
payments either
prezentat
for this
documente
loan.
despre venituri,
I
care
presented
a
you
fost
the
în
documents with
2024.
the income
Eu
for
personal tot am
2024.
economie acum
I have
și
some
economie oficială,
savings
pentru că am un
as
contract,
well.
care este din economiile mele, care din anul, anul 2023 și 2024.
And some savings for 2023, 2024. I have a contract at the bank
Eu îmi onorez obligațiile față de fiică și fiică față de respectivul.
according
Și deci,
to
asta și-a
which
fost scopul
I
fiicei, când
respect my
mi-a
obligations
trimis informația
to my daughter.
despre venitul familiei.
So this is why she sent this information on the income of her family. Her husband is an IT engineer, and perhaps they have some other income sources, but part of this loan will be soon repaid by my daughter.
Thank you. Would you like to ask a question about the loan? Yeah.
Domnul Bulhac,
Mr. Bulhac, we do understand
în acest împrumut de 3 milioane de lei,
that when it comes to this loan,
domnul Scripnic a
your
acționat
godson,
în
Mr.
intermediar.
Skripnik, acted as an intermediary.
Dumneavoastră nu-l cunoșteați pe domnul.
You didn't know Mr. Purice, the creditor.
Nici nu-l cunoașteți.
Indeed, I don't know him.
Dar în ce relație este domnul
In what
Scripnic
type of
cu-
relationship is Mr. Skripnik with Mr. Purice? Because
Noi nu am văzut
we have
care ar putea
not
fi rațiunea
seen
economică.
what is the economic rationale for someone to be providing a loan for 3,000 million lei without no dividends to a person he is not who is not acquainted with. Could you please provide us more details?
Relații între dânsii, din câte mi-a explicat.
So, as far as I know,
Foarte, foarte bune.
they've got very good relationship, working relationship, because the godson provides him legal advice. Whether it's done free of charge or for a specific payment, I'm not aware about. So they do have a very good relationship because
Runda de întrebări, dar credeți-mă că
during the round of questions,
mă pregătit pentru asta.
and I didn't have enough time to prepare for today,
Fiică, fiind, i-am rugat
and I asked my daughter urgently because there were some doubts, and therefore I would like to communicate that there is some good relationship, and the godson submitted some documents which provide information on the origin of the money
și bănuiesc persoana respectivă cu finul.
La care bani vă referiți? La,
What money are you referring to?
S-a pus în discuție
No,
comisia întotdeauna despre
the
proveniența
Commission
banilor
asked
la
about the origin of the money of this person, and therefore I asked that I've asked my daughter to provide any type of information on this. And I asked urgently what kind of information they could also submit to me in order for me to present those to the Commission. And therefore they provided the information from my bank statement. So these are the documents that you submitted to the Commission yesterday. Have you submitted any records yesterday? Are they new? You have not presented them prior to that. With regard to information from the bank, indeed, that's new information, and the information from the tax service is also new. I will provide them to you at the end of the day.
Vreți să adăugați ceva?
You can continue.
Puteți
You can
continua.
finish. Yeah.
Bine, vreau să despre ce ține despre tot în contextul acestui împrumut.
In the context of the same loan,
Condiții, sunt emoții.
I do have some strong emotions today. In my working practice, while I was a judge, a common law judge, I came across many cases, hundreds of cases, where there is some sort of litigations going on for many years, where the loans are being guaranteed, and anyway, people are involved in some sort of litigation. Therefore, I would like to draw attention to the Commission, because you asked a very pertinent question. I'm not going to refer to the state when a loan is being provided, when millions have been provided for some of companies that didn't have any turnover. So in this case, we have two sides. The honoring of obligations by my daughter, and I proved that those obligations by my daughter could be fulfilled based on the documents I provided to the Commission, given that my daughter was not employed at that time. She's a psychologist by profession. And our question was to understand the nature of the relationship, the relationship with the creditor, and I understand, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Skripner actually has a specific position based on a relationship with the creditor, right? Indeed, that's correct. He is the person of trust, but he is not the person who is going to have ownership over that. But 3 million without any dividends for 3 years assumes some trust. And you can use also the power of attorneys, and you can also question him if you need to. He's got his own plans within his activity, but we do have the power of attorney that prove as evidence that he is the one managing this asset. And indeed, my daughter is in Romania.
Thank you. And now let's talk about the Toyota RAV4, and specifically let's talk about the price of a car. The fact is that according to the Access database, you own the car, model Toyota RAV4, model year 2016. Is it correct? Yes. And according to your 2020 NIA declaration, the car was purchased for 210,000 lei, and the same price is reflected in contract of 13th of January 2020. At the same time, according to the information from Customs Service, the custom import value of this car on 25th August 2019 was 270,000 lei plus taxes of 40,460 lei, in total 310,460 lei. And according to the open portal, we can see that in July 2024, the price of a similar cars was between 305,000 lei and 442,270 lei. And my question, first of all, is how did you find the seller of this car?
So I met the seller of this car. Actually, my brother-in-law helped me meet him. And Bivol Gennady is indicated in the questionnaire that I completed in the spring. And if you noticed, over 20 years, I've had 3 vehicles, and one of those is still being used as of today. Indeed, in 2020, indeed, we are relatives. And in the second part of the year, I decided that I need to change my vehicle, to get a new vehicle. And as we are brothers-in-law, we meet and we discuss about such things. And he was looking for a car for his wife. I'm talking about Bivol Gennady here. And of course, his wife didn't like the car. But first of all, I would like to highlight one thing. I'm not very familiar with cars. I'm not afraid to say that. And he told me that he found a good car for his wife, but she doesn't like it. But I recommend this car to you. And I told him, if this car is a good one, I'm ready to buy it. And later on, he introduced to me the seller, and of course I met that seller along with my wife. I remember that very clearly.
Did you check the price of a car? But this is maybe too good price, or you just trusted?
Maybe how could I possibly double check this price? In the discussions with the seller, you mean?
Yes.
No, my brother-in-law told me, there is a good car, here is the price for this car, and that's all, because I told you from the very beginning, and I mentioned that in my questionnaires. I'm not very familiar with the cars, I'm not very good with cars, and told me it's a very good price for that car.
You just trusted.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, what do you know about the history of a car?
I knew that it was shipped from the United States, and in fact my brother-in-law told me from the very beginning that it was shipped from the US. And on the right side, the door from behind has been damaged, apparently. This is the information I received back then.
Do you know, does the seller herself brought the car from USA?
I'm not aware about this information.
Did you check some kind of documents of a car? I mean, when the car came from USA, what was the price? What about the taxes? Okay, I understand that you said that you are not car man and you trusted your relatives, but what about the documents? Did you check documents?
The only document at the disposal was the ownership title. And now I'd like to go back to the question. I suspect that that person is involved in this sort of transactions and business. He is importing cars from US. The only thing I tried to double check was the ownership title. Was the most important thing for me. And what are the options of the vehicle? And the car was in mileage, actually. The speedometer, odometer was in mileage because it's from United States.
But today, as you know, that this is the half, almost, price of a market price. How you explain it?
Thank you for this question. I don't know even today what are the prices on the market. I have never took time to research the market price for any vehicles. I'm not, but I highlighted actually in my explanations and the role of the customs service as well. I also documented myself because the customs service, when it comes to evaluation and assessment of the vehicle, this is not related to any law or instruction. The customs service acts in a certain framework, in certain limits, because they actually focus on lots of assets imported daily in the Republic of Moldova. But when it comes to the documentation, it could be that I only see some information on TV with regard to National Integrity Agency, and I remember that some of the vehicles are being declared with a lower price when being shipped from the US. But again, I'm not going to refer to those people or discuss. I would like to focus on myself. I would like to draw attention that while buying this vehicle, during the purchasing, I also carried out some repairs, some technical repairs. I also attached some justification documents. You can see some pictures indeed, but you cannot understand what is the paintwork, status of the paintwork or the interior. And I presented documents that I've spent some money in order to make some improvements with regard to these cars. Indeed, this car had many good options, but also it had some drawbacks. And the owner from the US actually sold it for that specific reason.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to ask about the car price? Okay. And before closed the part, let's talk about ECHR cases. There are several cases, and two of them are related of lack of effective investigation into applicants' allegation of ill treatment. We talk about two cases, Trossin case, which was torture, and the second case is a case of 15-year-old child. And you know that ECHR may have found that there are serious questions about behavior by the state. My question is, if you think about lack of effective investigation in the two cases, how you see the responsibility of a judge in these cases, and how you consider when and how apply international law, I mean international court practice, and or how and when you apply internal law. Could you please describe, if we talk about torture case and juvenile case, and we talk about lack of effective and effective investigation? Just shortly, because you have answered already, but it's important to understand.
I will try to be as brief as I can. First of all, if we were to talk about some arbitrary decision or judgment, I would like to communicate to you that I was part of the board, criminal board. We have not ruled, we didn't have an arbitrary judgment. It was a sentence based on law, based on national legislation, but also taking into account international regulations. If we were to talk about an effective investigation, whether or not it was an effective investigation, I can talk about Trochin case, and I'm gonna be brief. The European Court of Human Rights has retained one issue. The trial has been commenced was delayed actually. And the second case, if I'm understanding correctly, because we are talking about an arbitrary judgment of the appeal court. And the European Court of Human Rights said that there wasn't a full-fledged investigation, but there was a delay in investigation. The appeal court double-checked this information. I studied this case. And we actually used as guideline the article with regard to the instruction judge. Commission did not understood me correctly when I said that we couldn't overturn or annul those decisions, but we didn't act formally in order to annul a criminal case. The court also mentioned something related to inefficient investigation. We removed two investigative officers from this process. And to this subject, related to this subject, I would like to point out that this ruling wasn't an arbitrary judgment. We guided ourselves and we were fully convinced that it's a good ruling based on the investigations conducted prior to the board having its word on it. Moreover, in the findings of the court, a delayed investigation conducted in a 2-year time span, I would like to draw attention that in 2022 we resumed investigation on this case, and we are now in 2025, and this case is still not being worked on. This is I wanted to say. This is I wanted to emphasize that it was an arbitrary judgment. And we actually based our decision on national legislation in force.
Okay, but there were also 3 cases related with Article 5 of a convention, and we talk about and involve an application of pre-trial detention in absence of reasonable suspicious or without reasonable of sufficient reasons. Yeah, and yeah.
Eu îmi cer scuze, m-am referit, dar
I would like to also refer to the second case.
Okay. Yeah, yes. Fee, yeah.
Da, îmi cer scuze.
Yeah, thank you.
Am vorbit de o cauză. Deci, cauza văii.
VI
Știți,
case.
atâta vreau să menționez.
I want to mention this about this case.
Este o problemă și Curtea
Indeed,
Europeană, mă
this is
refer,
an issue, and the European Court of Human Rights
să zicem noi, anchetă chiar, să facem trimitere la o anchetă inefectivă sau la alte acțiuni ale organului de urmărire penală.
some actions of the investigative judges of the investigation, and the ECHR mentioned in this case that there was a failure because of stereotypes, generic stereotypes of Moldovan authorities. Because there are these stereotypes in the society when it comes to children with disabilities. And in point 67, it was mentioned namely that, and it said that the national legislation had no remedy for such cases involving such people. And at point 84, ECHR established that national regulations were inadequate in order to handle cases involving children with disabilities. This is a country-wide attitude or treatment. It's also in hospitals. And referring to this concrete case, it's about the doctors in a hospital. The doctors were involved in the case, were mentioned in the case, and ECHR mentioned that there are no national regulations regarding the treatment, medical treatment of this category of the population. It's not enough to have an article in the criminal code. The parliament or the government was mentioned, and the parliament and government should take other measures in order to prevent such things happening to other children. And the court welcomed that the case of the mayor of the settlement from where the child is was sent to court, and the court also welcomed that there was a judicial document, a final decision that was irrevocable, and the court also stated that it was about national regulations, stereotypes, and Moldovan authorities. The question is broader here and more serious, if I may. I will not refer to appeals. I just refer to what ECHR stated. It's not only related to the investigation, to the actions of my colleagues. It's about a national remedy that is not there. And unfortunately, it's still on the table of prosecutors. It's still under review.
But if we talk about Article 5, and here we see 3 cases where you have participated, and we talk about pretrial detention in the absence of reasonable suspicious. And we talk about pretrial detention, in one case 3 months, and second case 22 months and 6 months. You know the names of the cases, Selinski, Esanu and Malai. Yes?
Da, 3 cauze.
Yes, 3 cases.
And my question is that just could you explain? I don't ask from you about deliberation room, or I just ask about your understanding when and how you apply international law practice, and you or how and what kind of law you apply internal law in the situations where you see that there are questions about the time of preliminary detention.
La această, mersi mult de întrebare.
Thank you very much for your question.
Desigur că ne străduim și o facem
Obviously,
de fiecare dată.
we try and do this every time if possible. We apply the national legislation because our process is based on national legislation, and the prosecutors also base their activities on national legislation. We try our best to apply national legislation, but I can tell you that we also apply international legislation in solving such cases, such appeals, because I'm at the Court of Appeal. And taking into account all the materials presented, risks, we look at these cases from different perspectives. In all cases regarding ECHR, it's about arbitrary decisions, whether or not the decisions on those cases were arbitrary. And I can tell you with certainty that no decision issued by us, because we worked in a panel, can be deemed as an arbitrary one. In every decision, there is a reasoning, and national cases and international cases are mentioned. Of course, the Commission asks if we took into consideration national or international legislation. And usually ECHR looks at whether or not a similar decision was issued on a similar case before we solve the case. Esteemed Commission members, every case is specific and has its own peculiarities. As a former prosecutor, I know there is no case that is 100% similar to others. Every case is specific, has its own risks, but I can tell you that we, in our work, applied the national legislation and took into account all the evidence submitted, but also take into account the findings of the court. We participated not only in applying the pre-trial detention measure. Yes, it was mentioned that there was no reasonable doubt and the person was acquitted. But during the examination of the case, I cannot speak about blame or not. And ECHR stated that there were risks established, reasonable doubt established, but the decisions were not reasoned well enough.
nu știu cum să spun, ține de noi, ține de o apreciere, dar
Indeed, the reasoning is our responsibility, but we cannot say that arbitrary decisions were issued.
No more questions now from my side.
Okay. Comisia a epuizat toate chestiunile care urmau a
The
fi
Commission
discutate în ședință publică.
Asked all the things it wanted to
Excepția
ask in
personalului tehnic care asigură înregistrarea și
public hearing.
interpretarea.
Except for the technical staff and interpreters, I'd like to ask all the others to leave the room. Sorry.
Dar nu știu când o să fie, ca așa, de atâta, da, mersi.
Noi discutăm chestiunea care
We'll discuss the matter in question that you requested to be discussed in a closed hearing.
Cu aceasta am epuizat toate întrebările.
With this, we have come to the end of our questions.
Domnul judecător Bulhac, ați dori să faceți o
Mr.
scurtă
Judge,
declarație
would you
înainte
like to
de
make a
închiderea
brief
ședinței?
statement, closing statement before
Dar
closing
foarte
this
scurt.
hearing? But very
Noi
briefly, please.
Adică
Onorat comisie,
Dear Commission,
scurt, cât timp? Un minut, două?
how much time do I have?
cât timp aveți nevoie?
Eu o să
Please take your
mai
time.
succint de-
I will try to be
Pentru că am
brief, of
anexat,
course.
ceea ce doresc eu să spun, am anexat.
Și nu, da, și nu uitați să ne
And
lăsați
please,
ce aveți, da.
don't forget to leave the documents
La ce
you've
ține
got
de-
for us.
Ce ține de avere
With regard to inexplicable wealth, I would like a minute of your attention.
Chiar și acestui 12 ani care
Throughout all those 12 years,
n-am procurat
when I've
nimic.
been evaluating, I
Am
have
procurat
not
un autoturism,
I have
am
not
procurat
bought
un
anything.
autoturism,
Actually, I bought
am vândut un
only
autoturism, am
a
cumpărat
car
un,
and I sold a car. I bought an
un autoturism am
apartment,
vândut, unul l-am
I sold
cumpărat,
a
unul
car and I
l-am
bought
vândut,
a
unul
car.
da,
I
sunt
bought an
mai mari la
apartment
prețuri,
and
dar
I
vorbim de 12
sold
ani.
an apartment.
Am un trai modest,
I live a
nu mă
very
incomodez.
modest
Comisia
life,
s-a
humble life. I'm not ashamed about that.
traiul meu este,
I took pictures
este
about
acasă,
my
nu mă rușinez, nu mă incomodez.
living
Ați
conditions.
văzut, cresc și animale.
As you saw, I also have some
De atâta. Bine, dumneavoastră ați spus,
pets around the house.
atât succint, adică vreau să spun că duc o viață modestă și
So
eu
I live a very humble
am
life.
indicat
I would like to
acest-
emphasize that.
Ce ține de...
With regards,
Vă rog aici tot încă un minut să-mi acordați, deci eu activez în calitate de
and I
judecător
work
penal
as a
în
judge from 22.
și am desigur și o
And of
experiență
course, I do
personală
have a professional experience in this
informată
respect
în principiile de drept care au fost
when it comes to
înfăptuirii justiției.
legal field in the Republic of Moldova. And I would like to point out about the cases brought to you,
Și vreau să spun că de la etapa
and I would like to mention that
până la altă etapă. Deci sunt
from one stage to another, there have been many changes in the system, in the legal field.
curtea constată unele care noi
When
luăm,
the
numai decât că luăm
Court establishes some facts, for example.
aceasta, poate am unele
Sometimes-
emoții și n-o să fiu,
Sometimes we are very emotional, and
nu o să mă pot eu exprima ceea ce
since I'm very fortunate, I could not be expressing myself very clearly today.
vreau să vă spun
But I would like to tell you
actele care
that all the decisions, issues have been based on the national law,
ele reieșind din hotărârile Curții Constituționale
and they have been based on the judgments of the Supreme Court of Justice, and those could not be qualified as arbitrary judgments. And here I would like to refer to a
care m-am pronunțat
European Court of Justice case.
a fost
I'm talking about
european aceasta ce
the subject which was brought
o mică
with regard to similar cases.
Am
Please,
spus așa,
please go ahead if you want to
vă
go.
limitez, nu știu
este
cum în
soarta mea și
declarație.
eu îmi cer scuze,
Da,
o să spun.
nu vă cer scuze.
Don't apologize. We are talking about two similar cases.
Am examinat în
I have examined in 2014 and have ruled
privința unei persoane
with regard to a dignitary
de mai multe articole,
that person was charged on many articles and also passive corruption. Actually, it was a case where a provocation was referred to. The case was acquitted, but when it comes to corruption, the person was sentenced. The subject to the European Court of Justice was with regard to provocation. We have presented evidence. The defense have presented evidence. And I have explained to the governmental agent all the informations. The court rejected this application from that person since they considered that the court established correctly all the facts. Nowadays, I do have some cases where there are some subjects invoking provocation. I would like to tell you, the esteemed Commission. They state provocation, but each one is based on very objective reasons. And it's very hard to establish what are similar. What is similar in these cases? The defense have presented some evidence that they have been provoked, and they have presented also materials. And in each case, we've got evidence based on the defense position, but all of them are different. And I'm talking about the arbitration of judgments. Apologies, it's all from my side. Yeah, we are all human beings. It's understandable to have high emotions. We are now have reached the end of this hearing. We would like to thank you for the presented information and for the submitted answers to various questions and for the answers provided in front of the Commission today. We would like, we will ask you to pass to us the records that you still have gotten yourself. Following this hearing, the panel will strive to complete and approve an evaluation report stating its conclusions whether the subject meets the criteria for ethical and financial integrity. The report will be approved as soon as possible. The hearing is now being closed. Thank you.